Welcome to this week's BWV podcast. You can find our podcast on the BWV app by going to businesswideview.com or our YouTube channel. And in fact, it's in Apple Podcasts as well. If you'd like to find other interesting educational, business-related agriculture information, go to our website at home.businesswideview.com or follow us on our social media pages like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube.
You name it. Yeah, we're there.
Welcome, everybody. I'm BJ Fuchs.
And I'm Skyler Fuchs, co-founder of Business Wideview. And of course, we support women in ag. This is episode number 5 of the BWV podcast.
Hey, before we get started, Skyler, as usual, let's give a shout out to our sponsors. Starting with CFCW, Alberta's country legend. CFCW started in 1954. You'll hear anything from today's country stars as well as your favorites from yesterday. And it is also the home of the famous Dean Thorpe Ag Noon Show.
And SLRRP, the Surface Lease Rental Recovery Partner program, was developed by Agri-Energy Partners with the goal of reducing the stress landowners feel when lease rental payments are not being paid by oil and gas operators. Team, the electronic auction mart, is owned and operated by Calgary Stockyards. The Calgary Stockyards have been marketing cattle through Team since 1986. Team has marketed more than 4 million head of cattle.
Agfinity. As grain markets are moving faster and faster, our partner Agfinity are dedicated to connecting a community of grain buyers and sellers to be a reliable and trustworthy partner for your business.
CLH Bid, selling farm and ranch land is all they do, providing a leading edge online tender platform to market and sell farm and ranch land.
Hey, if your company would like to be a sponsor of our podcast, go to home.businesswideview.com and send us a message on our Contact Us page.
Yeah, like I said earlier, episode number 5 of the BWV podcast. We have a super exciting guest on today. Before we do that, let's talk a little bit about BWV, BJ.
Yeah, sure. So continue getting feedback, not only from our listeners of our podcast, but also from people checking out our app. And if you haven't checked out the Business Wideview app, we encourage you to. You can check it out at businesswideview.com. There's some other ways of finding the app as well, Skyler. Maybe share some of those other options.
The App Store, of course, we're available in the App Store and Google Play Store for our Android users. Like you said, we have our podcast, we have our YouTube channel, which is a great place to go and listen to our podcast if you want to see our beautiful faces, and also our weekly cattle report and feed grain reports also on our YouTube channel. So that's a good source of information as well. But once again, all of it is on the app. So if you want anything relevant to agriculture, any markets, anything like that, you know where to find it. It's, like we said, the BWV app. So before we jump into anything like that, turn off BWV a little bit. The weather, it's crazy being from Alberta, and right now it's +7 where I'm at. So it's tropical.
Yeah, I mean, we've had snow and then we get in the pluses and we have no snow. And then we get snow and then we're back in the pluses and we have no snow. It's been quite a roller coaster of weather since, that cold snap just prior to Christmas. But, for those that are calving right now, pretty nice weather.
Yeah, I can't complain about that for sure. Mother Nature's kind of doing a yo-yo. So we had quite a bit of dew frost earlier in the month. So hopefully that the Farmer's Almanac is true and we get some moisture within, 90 days or something? I can't remember.
I want to say it's 90 days. And yeah, you're right. That's a good point. We've had lots of fog. And so let's hope that the rain comes here in that 90-day window, because with, running on, a couple years of drier conditions, we need Mother Nature to be on our side for this upcoming season.
Yeah, for sure. But nonetheless, like you said, it's great for those calving right now. And our guest, she's calving right now. So we should jump into our podcast with Katy from Cudlobe Angus. I never get lonely. I got these goals.
to keep me company. I took the review off, but it's so forward, so I only see in front of me.
Kaitlynn today. Kaitlynn, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Katy, you come from an operation. Where exactly are you guys located before I get introducing that?
So we're just about 2 miles west of Highway 2, right between Calgary and Lethbridge.
Oh, nice. Nice country down there for sure. So you guys are purebred operation, Cudlobe. You're calving right now. We were just talking about the warm weather. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about your operation, how your calving's going so far this year, and who all's there on the operation with you.
Okay, well, that could be a long and lengthy explanation. Cudlobe Angus was started by my dad in 1967. He bought 3 Angus cows. Previous to that, we ran shorthorn cows, or I shouldn't say we. My grandparents ran shorthorn cows. And then my dad bought 3 Angus cows. 8 years later, his brother, David, returned home and they started what is now the main Cudlobe Angus herd. They've grown that from those 3 cows to between both farms now, there'll be over 1,000 cows ran under that Cudlobe brand. About 5 years ago, as the next generation came on, we still sell together, but we've kind of separated into Cudlobe Angus West. That's my cousin Matt and his wife Addie. And then myself and my brother and my dad run under Cudlobe Angus. So we currently here at our home place are calving 300 mother purebred cows. We are focusing on efficient cattle that are structurally sound, that are also going to grade when they go to the plant, trying to obtain some premiums, certified Angus beef premiums and things like that for our clientele. So we've kind of built around that brand. We have a calf sale for our clientele to sell, saying these are what these cattle are going to grade. So that happens every October. We have anywhere from 2,000 plus calves that sell in that sale, and they get a 5 to 10 cent premium per pound on the day, according to CanFax. That's the results we've seen. So that's kind of where we're geared towards. We're geared towards just not looking at cattle that are going to go look pretty, but that are also going to be on the hook and are going to grade. And part of that is we've taken it the next step, and we've also started our own beef business. So we're getting actual data results back from that. So having said that, calving is going great. Weather is beautiful. We are still here at Cudlobe Angus. We are on the original place that my grandparents got here in Staveley in '54. So we are currently calving through a 100-year-old hip roof barn with no heat, very little minimal adjustments made. So it's pretty neat to be calving right there where every single cow that's born on this place has been through. So
cool.
That is super cool. Yeah. And that barn, if I remember correctly, was painted this year. So that's kind of cool. You could touch on that.
It was. We have been fortunate enough because we are one of the only herds here in Canada that kind of focuses on marbling and incorporates that into our business, that the Certified Angus Beef was kind enough to award us with the inaugural Commitment to Excellence Award here in Canada in 2018. And as part of that, they decided they wanted to paint their logo on a building of ours. So they've done this in the States. They painted very few barns. I think it's 40 out of all the American Angus members. And we were very fortunate that ourselves and Cudlobe Angus West both got our barns painted. So they came up and did that in June, and we celebrated that. And it is a pretty big statement, and it's neat to see every time we drive into the yard. So.
Oh, super cool. No, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. You mentioned you guys are selling beef and you're getting some data back on your marbling and etc. Can you just explain that a little bit more, Katy?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of we've always, probably for the last as long as I can remember, sold halves and wholes from our family to our neighbors and our family and our friends and those sorts of things. Kind of just before COVID kicked off, it was something I had thought about, just being able to obtain the data ourselves. Previous to that, we had been hauling directly to Cargill. So we did get some data back, but we weren't getting paid for those primes and AAA carcasses, which is theoretically what our herd, we expect our herd to do. That's what they need to be grading. That's where they should be. So we got in contact with a local store here in Nanton, and we now sell all our beef products through a storefront there. We also sell here on the farm, and coming soon, hopefully when the new shop gets built, we will have a little shop right here on the farm. So having said that, we've grown from maybe doing 5 head a year 5 years ago to we did over 40 last year. So we are taking some of our cows, older cows, and turning them into grind products such as hamburger, lean grind, and sausages and pepperoni sticks and jerky and all those value added products. And then we're also taking any cattle that don't perform well or late calvers or things like that, and we're putting them through our meat business. We've seen on the feeder side of things, we have seen 95% of our cattle go AAA and prime. We are fortunate enough that we have built great connections with those people that harvest our cattle, and they are now demanding, these cattle that are grading prime and AAA are in demand through our local processors. So we've been able to build on that as well. So that's predominantly where we've seen a huge increase as well in the number of cattle we're killing, just because they know they can buy these cattle and sell them to their clients, and they're going to be AAA and they're going to be prime and they're going to be local. And that means something to a lot of people right now as well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You know, as we all know, as being producers in the ag industry, you know, the margins are tight. So getting creative on how you can market your product, I think, is a key component to being, successful in this industry. Yeah. So kudos to you and your family for doing that. That's awesome. I know you're active on the Business Wideview platform. So can people find, if people want to buy a box meat, can they find it through Business Wideview, Katy, and get in touch with you guys?
I have been sharing a lot of our beef business on there as well. I'm very active on all social medias through the Cudlobe Angus brand. So currently I have a sign in on the Business Wideview, and I share all our meat business posts. I try and do a meat Monday every week. I'm not religious on it, and I sometimes get a little busy, as every farmer and person in agriculture happens. Yeah. But I do try and share all that, and absolutely people can reach out to me, and we are happy to help. Hopefully soon, when calving slows down, I'll have time to update our website, and once our new kind of meat shop gets organized, we will be able to direct people directly to our website and market it that way as well. So absolutely, awesome. They can get a hold of me right now, currently. Hopefully in the coming months, we'll see that as a more smooth transition.
Awesome. Yeah. So for our listeners out there, check out Business Wideview's Network Ag. You can get in contact with Katy there, and also Katy's also posted on the buy and sell section as well. So a couple of different locations where you can find Katy. Katy, now you left the family operation for a while.
I did.
And then decided to come back. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've actually not left, I guess, but I've left the farm a couple of times. I went to school in Kansas on a livestock judging team for a year, and then I also went to Montana State for 2 years. While I was at Montana State, I was offered the opportunity to continue on and take my master's degree. And, you know, that's a pretty big deal when your professors are asking you to stay on. And I know my dad was so beyond thrilled, and anyone that knows me knows I'm a huge daddy's girl. So we were all very excited.
That's okay. That's okay, Katy, because Skyler is too. So it's all good.
You know, everyone, well, I shouldn't say everyone was very excited when this opportunity came about. And I can remember many of nights sitting and going, I just don't think this is where I want to be. I've never been someone that likes to sit in a classroom a lot. I love being on my computer, and I love the business side of things, but I still, at the end of the day, want to be outside with those black cows. So I went into my advisor's office, hadn't told my family or anything yet, and just said, you know, I think I really just want to go home and play with black cows and play in the dirt. That's what I want to do with my life. So I returned home in 2017 after graduating from Montana State with my ag business degree, and then was here for about 2-3 years. And then just, you know, as everyone knows, family is hard. Working with family is hard. So I decided maybe I wanted to just branch out a little bit. It was always my plan to return back to the farm. But I was just at that age where I wanted something of my own and I wanted to do something different, and trying to find your place in the farm sometimes can be difficult. So at that time, I actually got hired with ATB as a business banker. So that was very neat. It was so outside of anything I thought I would ever do. But I loved it. I loved the ATB team. I loved the team atmosphere. Talking to ag people every day about their business was, you know, just so cool and so neat, and being able to help people reach their dreams and hear their dreams and their goals and make those plans. And in the end, you know, it's so beneficial for me to understand loans and the process for loans and what those loan application needs to look like and what credit means and all those things that so many of us maybe don't understand and have a great grasp on. So last year, January, I'd been at the bank for only 14 months. My plan was to be there for about 2 to 5 years. And in the -30 weather we had for 2 weeks, my dad came to me and said he just couldn't do it anymore. For those of you that don't know, my dad is 70 years old and still very active on the farm. He's out there doing chores every morning. So when he came to me and just said, you know, it was time for me to come home, that was okay with me because I was still doing a lot of the paperwork and the business side of things. So I was really working 2 full-time jobs at once. So it wasn't hard for me to just make that transition back to home. So yeah, I've been here now for full-time for a year again and haven't regretted a minute of it.
Well, that's awesome. That's a cool story, and thanks for sharing that with us. Yeah, no, anybody in this industry knows how challenging it can be. So having, you know, different experiences that you can bring back to the operation is only beneficial. You know, we were talking, we had a previous guest on here with Ryan and Tara, and we were talking just about, you know, one generation to the next generation, and you know and we asked, one of the questions we asked that couple was, you know, what are some of the things that they're doing in preparation for the next generation to take over. And you know, one of the things they did mention was they wanted to have their kids experience some other experiences.
Yeah.
And if they could bring something back to the family operation, that's a win-win for everybody. It in their words, they said, you know, it brings a different view to the family operation, number one, and number two, it gives them the next generation experience and maybe some more appreciation for the home operation. So that really caught my ear, and it makes sense to me as well. So kudos to you. I mean, that's awesome, Katy.
Yeah, it's definitely absolutely something that I 100 totally agree with. I do think every young person should leave the family business, whether it's a farm or just a family business. Go outside and experience life for yourself and learn to stand on 2 feet. I know when I was 18, I went to Scotland. I traveled the world a little bit and went to Scotland and England and Australia. And up to that point, I had been well taken care of by my parents. So it was a bit of an eye-opening experience for me. But having done that and went to school away and worked off the farm, just the social abilities I have, the networking that I've built, and being able to come home and help with those decisions that I gained knowledge in has been just huge. We wouldn't be doing the beef business if I hadn't left and come home, likely. I'm very active on crunching everything to the penny. We wouldn't be active on social media. It's just not something. My dad's an old school farmer, and he, you know, why change it if it's not broken? has been his. So I'm a bit of a dreamer. So sometimes they have to rein me in and sometimes I have to push them. So we've been very fortunate. And I totally agree that everyone should get off the farm a little bit and experience that.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys got a hell of a team over there, which is important. And you mentioned, there is times you were wearing or doing two different jobs, doing two different careers. That's something very common in our industry. We can pull out the positives and like we just said, whether we get another job at a welding shop or at a mechanic shop and we can bring back them skills to the family operation, that's fantastic. But in reality, the margins are so tight in this industry. A lot of us have to have second and third jobs just to do what we love in the agricultural industry. And, the agricultural industry is, I've said it before and I'll say it again, and is one of the most important industries we have. I mean, it's the industry that feeds the world. And, that's part of the efforts with Business Wide View is building this community and knowledge sharing, the pioneers like your father and the new generations like yourself. And what can we all learn from each other to promote our industry? And that's the whole focus with Business Wide View. That's why it's a platform built by farmers and ranchers for farmers and ranchers, is because, in my opinion, I think we need this network. We need this family. We need this neighbors. We talked about it in previous podcasts. Without family, neighbors, and friends, you don't have anything. And it doesn't matter, how big your operation is or how small it is. If you don't have those ingredients to it, it makes it a lot more challenging. So, if we can build this community through the Business Wide View platform, and with today's modern technology, our neighbors might not be, the farmstead just down the road. Yeah. It might not be the local business, down the road. Our neighbors could be, Eastern Canada. It could be, the United States. It could be worldwide. It's everybody that's in the ag industry that provides a product to feed the rest of the world. We need to join forces. We need to learn from each other, and we need to knowledge share, and that's what Business Wide View is all about.
Yeah, no, and I think that is so important. One of my huge things that I'm very passionate about, and something why I'm so active on social media, is because I do believe as an industry, we need to pull together and we need to tell our own story, because if we're not telling it, someone else is. And that's hard. Talking about the hard days and the rough days is so extremely hard, but having the support of a wider community and having each other's back, I think, is so incredibly important. And, just talking about neighbors worldwide. So we went to Scotland for the World Angus Forum in 2017, just after I'd graduated. And we saw these tags that were used for heat detection. Being on a family farm, we're always looking for, and my dad getting older and me and Kevin having lives and things going on. And there's just never enough hours in the day when you're running a farm. We're always looking for things that can help with manual labor and time efficiency and things like that. So I really got hooked on these tags. So I came home and I phoned Allflex and actually got on as a research herd here in Canada. So I have been a huge supporter of these tags, for ourselves, the time efficiency there is, and those sorts of things have been incredible. But through our social media, whether it be when we're posting on Business Wide View or some of our other profiles, I've had people reach out to us regarding these tags, saying they work two jobs and they're looking for a way, they've got 30, 40 cows and they're looking for a way that will be able to AI these cows versus putting a bull out with them and be able to, progress their herd a little bit quicker. And it's been neat to have those neighbors that live so far away in some cases reach out. And I think that's important. We're all better off sharing our knowledge than kind of just staying in our own little bubble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. So tell us a little bit about these tags.
So these are tags. They're just, they literally are little white medallion tag. We put them in right after calving. if we're going to put it in cows. We've, in past years, probably the last 7 years, I think now we've been using them, or 6 or 7 years, we've been using them. We have bred our yearling heifers with reliable on them. I get a text in the morning saying so-and-so's in heat. It tells us when the most efficient time or the best time to breed or AI each individual heifer. And that's been interesting because Skyler, as you know, not every girl is the same. And it's been interesting to see how some of those heifers move through those time zones very quickly, whereas other heifers, they're 24 hours. So that's been interesting for us because we are a progressive herd and we're using all the technology, and we've been using AI since it really just came out. My dad's been using it. You know, you're told 12 hours. 12 hours is a sweet spot. You see them standing heat, you breed them 12 hours later. And we're finding with these tags that that's just not always accurate. It is, I would say, on the average, it would be, you know, it would work well. But for ourselves, we found some of those heifers do just stay standing heat longer. So that 12-hour wouldn't work for us. So we are breeding strictly based on the tags. Our yearling heifers, the amount of time we've saved and labor we've saved from not having to sit on a hill and watch for an hour to see who's in heat has really helped things out. And it's funny because that was one of those things that my dad was like, oh, I don't know about this. Like, I really don't know about this. And now we can't imagine doing it any other way. So we actually got some grant money this year, and we got enough tags for the whole cow herd. Now, I'm not sure that that's going to happen. Dice is still, my dad is very still on the fence about putting it in the whole cow herd. If it's not broke, why fix it? So we will definitely be using it in our 2-year-olds once again. And then our yearling heifers, we use them all the time. So yeah, it's something that we're playing with. The tags have a 5-year battery life now. So we're only putting them in for 6 weeks of the year. So for AI season, and then you can cut them out and reuse them the next year. So we're imagining that those will last longer, but definitely something I think technology is our friend. I'm a bit of a big supporter for that. In family farming nowadays, you know, not everyone can hire someone, and finding labor out there is hard. So finding ways to use technology to make it so you have more time or make things more efficient, I think is very important.
Yeah, totally. Totally. You know, you got my little hamster going here right now, and I'm just thinking,
Thanks,
you know,
Katy.
Anytime.
Yeah, so we all know we touched on this as well in a previous episode. You know, the cost of having bulls around, and you know, different operators have different opinions on what's the best way to get their stock bred. You know, and so when you have a pen full of bulls versus AI, and I mean, that's a whole different episode conversation altogether. So I don't want to dive too deep into it, but the point I'm trying to make here is I was talking to my brother-in-law, and we were talking cows. That's what we do. We talk about cows, and we were talking about the expense of cows and so on and so forth, and what's the highest costs associated to owning a cow, etc. And one of the things that he brought up was, you know, cow depreciation. Where is that? Where is that in that lifespan of that cow? And some might, you know, and so we went on and talked about it for a lengthy amount of time. And so my personal opinion on that is, you know, if you don't have a cow calving in the first cycle, she potentially could end up in the cull pen. If you want to keep your calving season to be 90+% in the first cycle, so you got an even pen of calves come fall, etc. You know, you may have a younger cow that you might have to get rid of because she's not catching in the first cycle. Now, if you are using the modern technologies as these tags you speak of and so on and so forth, you're monitoring that a little tighter. And especially the purebred breeders, they're monitoring that a little tighter, and so they try to get everything bred in that first cycle. So I agree with you. You know, hearing the stories, like you're telling us here today, Katy, of some of the technology that's out there for beef producers. It's all about awareness. So again, thanks for sharing that. That's interesting.
No, of course. Yeah, I definitely think like for ourselves to be able to go out and get the genetics that we need to utilize, we're using some of the most sought after bulls in the United States of America. We're able to obtain those genetics and use them here at Cudlobe. So we have to use AI. We can't go out and spend $250,000 on one bull. And part of that is because, well, first of all, I'm never going to spend $250,000 on a bull. I don't have that kind of pocket change. But because we have loyal customers that are coming back to back since before I was born, our genetics have to turn over every 3 years. So it will be very rarely that you see us use a AI sire more than 3 years in a row. Just because those guys are coming back year to year, they need fresh genetics, they need things to keep moving too. So we've been able to utilize AI, allowing us to do that. We have a few walking herd bulls here. Buy the odd bull here or there, but for the most part, everything gets AI'd here, just so we can obtain those genetics that our clients are looking for, because they are utilizing the calf sale, and we also have a replacement heifer, Cudlobe replacement heifer sale that our customers can partake in. And you're trying to build the brand so that you can help your clients all the way from the start to the finish with easy calving, all the way to the time that they go to the hook. So AI allows us to keep that genetic pool moving quickly. So for us, it's just not feasible or even realistic to think that we're going to breed our cows with bulls. We just can't afford to buy those sorts of genetics.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And with the that's kind of been the new thing too, is, we're starting to hear that the consumer wants to know what's on their plate and where did it come from. And by, collecting the data that you guys are collecting, you can tell that story. So people that are buying your guys' beef, you can tell that story. And I think there's, there's an audience out there, there's a consumer out there that wants that. And so
absolutely.
Good.
And I think part of it is with the beef business, I always struggle a little bit because I do fully support buying your meat in a grocery store. It's safe. It supports Canadian agriculture. I fully support that. For us, it's just we're taking out the middleman. We're able to obtain a little bit more of that value through our own beef business. So I think it's been interesting. We've done a few kind of visits, I guess you could say, with some of Certified Angus Beef's retail people and, some of their restaurants and things like that. And we went to an event there in Banff to a very high-end restaurant. And it was a bunch of social media influencers there. And I visited with them and talked with them. And it was interesting being, I'm wearing cowboy boots and jeans, my big belt buckle. I do not fit in this crowd, in case you're wondering. I am no social media influencer. I stuck out like a sore thumb. But talking to these people, and they buy their meat in the grocery store, and they're seeing these antibiotic-free labels, or there's hormone-free labels, and all those buzzwords that are out there right now. And just being able to, again, connect with them, tell the story, tell them it's safe, tell them why it's safe, why we do that, and why, cattle need antibiotics, and why some people choose to use hormones and things like that. I think that's where Business Wide View and all the other social media platforms come into play, is connecting with those people and being able to connect with our fellow producers in order to tell our story better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally agree 110%. Yeah.
Educating is huge on that side of things, to educate the consumers. It's not their fault that they don't know, but to educate them and explain a little more than what social media or the news or tells them is very important. And I agree with that full-heartedly.
Yeah, and funny. You're right, Skyler. Sorry, Skyler. I'm going to just butt in here real quickly. No, I agree with you. You're right. It's not their fault. They don't know what they don't know. Yep. I have to blame. If you got to blame someone, maybe is it us? Is it us as being producers, not you know, utilizing the tools that we have to tell our stories and to educate people and let people know that if they're enjoying that family barbecue, whether it's brisket, burgers, or steak, there is potentially a family operation that worked night and day.
Yeah.
They brought that baby calf into their own home to warm it up, to give it a fighting chance to survive. And, you know, we monitor this stuff through their whole life, this livestock, just so people can enjoy that burger, that steak, that brisket, what have you. And so telling, you know, for us, educating and telling us the story of how this all is possible to be on their plate. Yeah, that's powerful. That's very powerful. And, you know, that's a goal of Business Wide Views for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think a big part of what we see happening, miscommunication, miseducation in today's world is when my dad was growing up, there was maybe one generation between them and the farm. They knew a friend or a family member or a grandparent that was raised on the farm, grew their own food, was still doing it, etc. In today's world, in mine and Skyler's, you know, generation, I'm not sure that can be said. You know, how many people are 2-3 generations removed from someone that grows their own food? So they don't understand it. It's not something of their everyday lives. And this is a discussion me and my dad have on a regular basis, is how much do you share? You know, I don't want to put anything out there for people to see and misconceive or edit or whatever, right? But I want to tell our story too, that it's not an easy way of life. You know, we do it because we love it and we love providing for our country and our world and etc. You know, but it's not, you know, it's not something that's easy when it's -30 and you're hauling that calf to the barn or checking every 2 hours or an hour or whatever it might be, right? So you know, it's a discussion me and my father have on a regular basis of, should we be posting this? Should we talk about this? Where do you draw the line in the sand? And at the end of the day, I think there needs to be we need to rebuild that connection with our end consumer that they've lost through that generational gap.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, we talk about all these things that we do for the actual livestock, but, you know, it just doesn't stop there. No. You know, let's think about that cold snap we had here just before Christmas. You know, we got fresh bedding out there for them. We've got windbreaks for them. We got buildings for them to go in and stay warm. And that's all good. But guess what? We're spending hours in the dark, in the cold, getting a watering bowl thawed so they can have a drink of water. You know, there's all these other things that, you know, we do as beef producers that maybe some people aren't aware of.
Yeah, and I think it's... Go ahead, Skyler.
So it's like you said, it's miseducation. It's something that's not talked about a whole bunch, which needs to be. But like you said, it's hard. We have to build that relationship with the end consumer so that they have the respect for us, where they're not going to take our content and edit it or take it out of context. But we need to be able to get to a point where we can post that, probably have a few edited the wrong way, and then educate some more on that. You know, it's tricky. We're playing with a rock in a hard place there. Yeah. And that's something, you know, I think my dad's generation, I think farmers were just stay in your bubble, stay to yourself, keep your head down and keep doing what you're doing. You know, that was the kind of the end mentality. And I think we're starting to see that change now, that we're realizing, again, if we don't tell our story, somebody is going to tell that story, and it might not be the honest to God truth. And I think a large part of that is just making sure that our consumer knows we are families feeding our family. That's what we're doing here. It's not that we don't have compassion. It's not anything like that. It's that we love what we do. We want to raise safe, healthy food for our end consumer. And, you know, majority of the food that is produced here in Canada is on a family farm. You know, at the end of the day, it's not this big factory farm that they seem misconceived about. You know, that I am out there checking cows at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's not,
you know, it's not a hired hand, it's not a crew, it's me. And we have, you know, 1 or 2 hired hands around, but we're not sitting in our office doling out orders. We are there living it, breathing it, to feed our families and to feed everyone else's family as safe and bestly as we can as well.
Yeah, very true.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
It's funny because at the beginning of this podcast, Katy, before you hopped on the call, BJ goes, I'll let you run it. You can ask all the questions. And so I was looking forward to him being able to ask the last question. But no, I'll do it because he took over with his chattiness.
You know, there's a pattern here, Skyler. There's a pattern here. And the pattern that's starting to be identified is I'm so passionate about this industry and our guests and listening to their stories. I just get caught up in the conversation and forget that we're actually doing a podcast recording. So my apologies, Skyler. My apologies.
Yeah, we'll talk about it offline, BJ. But anyways, once again, thanks so much for joining us, Katy. There's a lot more questions that I didn't get to ask you, but that's totally fine. It was interesting. It was educational. Hopefully some consumers listen to it and inform themselves a little bit more. But our last question is, what are your thoughts on what BWV is doing for the ag industry?
I think it's incredible. Like we talked about the connections we can make and the community we can build through Business Wide View, I think is a large portion. You know, even for our big beef business right now, I am utilizing the market reports and things like that to find out what the price of beef is currently and what we need to evaluate our cattle at. So I think it's incredible, you know, to go to one place and be able to get land values and beef values and even grain markets, because grain markets, I kind of tend to leave that to my brothers. So I don't stay on the up and up with what's going on there. So to be able to go on to Business Wide View and see all of that and have some sort of understanding of what's going on in the market, I think is incredible. And at the end of the day, I think just building that community that we talked about, you know, that's the goal. That's the end goal. That's the only way we're going to continue making a living doing what we're doing, is that if we have each other's back and we're able to educate and share our knowledge between each other.
Yeah, thanks for that, Katy. Well, that's great. Thanks again, Katy. Sorry again, Skyler, that I did a lot of the question asking there. But no, very, very good conversation. Once again, thanks for your time, Katy. Thanks for sharing your story. And thank you for supporting Business Wide View. Like I said earlier, if you want to get in touch with Katy or buy some beef off of their family operation or some bread heifers, go to Business Wide View and get in touch with Katy. And I'm very confident she'll help you out in any way she can.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Katy.
Thanks, you guys.
I never get lonely. I got these goals to keep me company. I took the rear view off of this so forward, so I only see in front of me.